The ship named Horizon moved slowly at the edge of known space. Its metal body reflected the faint light of distant stars. Inside the ship, a man named Arun sat at the control seat. His eyes stayed fixed on the glowing panels in front of him, but his mind wandered. The silence of deep space always felt heavy, yet it also gave him a strange kind of peace. Arun was not a soldier or a famous explorer. He was an ordinary pilot who carried supplies between colonies. But his heart always wanted more. He wanted to see things that others had never seen. He wanted to discover secrets hidden in the darkness. For that reason, he often drifted far from the usual routes. His friends called him reckless, but he called it curiosity. On this day, the silence of his journey broke. The ship's system caught a signal, so faint that it almost disappeared into the background noise. Arun frowned and leaned closer. It was not a normal beacon, not a call for help, not even a message. It sounded like a soft whisper, a pattern of energy that repeated again and again. He hesitated for a moment. Turning back would be the safe choice. But safe choices never led to great discoveries. With steady hands, Arun adjusted the course of Horizon. The ship followed the weak trail, moving deeper into space where no colony had settled. Hours passed, then more. The stars around him grew thinner, and ahead of him appeared a massive glow. At first, Arun thought it was a dying star. But as the ship drew closer, he realized there was something else orbiting the star. A station. It floated in silence, half hidden by the bright flames of the giant star. Its shape was strange, nothing like human design. Its surface curved in flowing lines, almost like a sculpture rather than a machine. Arun's chest tightened with both fear and excitement. He whispered to himself that he had found something forgotten, maybe something no human had ever touched. He brought Horizon closer. The station showed no sign of life. No lights blinked, no movement stirred. Yet the faint signal still came from within. Against all logic, a docking port opened slowly, as if welcoming him. Arun's heart raced. The system showed no weapons, no defense, only silence. He decided to enter. The docking process was rough, but the airlock connected. Arun put on his light suit and carried a small scanner. The moment he stepped into the station, the air felt different. It was not cold, not warm, but heavy with age. The walls were smooth and silver, glowing faintly without visible lights. His footsteps echoed softly as he moved forward. Every corridor curved like it was grown, not built. Strange patterns covered the walls, shifting faintly when his eyes moved. He could not tell if they were writings or just designs. The deeper he went, the stronger the signal became. It pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding him. At last, he entered a vast chamber. The roof arched high above, shining faintly with star-like dots. In the center stood a figure. A woman, tall and graceful, with features unlike human but still familiar. Her skin shimmered faintly, her hair flowed like strands of silver. But it was her eyes that froze Arun in place. They were wide and deep, filled with a strange light, as if entire galaxies lived within them. She did not move at first, only watched him silently. Arun's breath caught in his chest. He had dreamed of meeting alien life, but now that it stood before him, he felt both small and unprepared. Finally, the alien woman spoke. Her voice did not echo in the chamber. Instead, it entered directly into his mind, calm and clear. "Look into my eyes and remember, human." Arun felt his body stiffen. The words carried no threat, yet they held weight, as if they were meant to be remembered forever. His scanner shook slightly in his hand. He lowered it slowly, realizing that she was not an enemy. She was something else, something far older. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "Who are you?" The woman did not answer with a name. She only took a step closer, her gaze never leaving him. Arun's pulse raced faster. The chamber felt alive, as if the very air watched him through her. "You hear my call because you were willing to follow," she said softly. "Many pass by, but few listen. You came because you wished to see what others feared to see." Arun swallowed hard. His voice was weak when he asked, "Why me?" Her eyes brightened, reflecting stars that were not in the room. "Because humans must remember. When the stars forget, when time erases, your kind must hold the memory." Arun felt a chill run down his spine. The weight of her words pressed against him, but at the same time, he felt a strange pride. She spoke as if humanity carried something no other race could. He did not fully understand, but he wanted to know more. The chamber fell silent again. The alien woman studied him as if testing his spirit. Her expression was calm, almost kind, but there was strength hidden in her stillness. Arun knew this was no accident. He had not just found a random station. He had been led here. The faint hum of the station echoed around him, like the beat of a heart. Arun took a deep breath. He knew his journey had only begun. The silence of space was behind him now. Before him stood a mystery, and it looked at him with eyes full of ancient memory. And so, under the fading light of a dying star, human and alien faced each other for the first time. The silence inside the chamber stretched on. Arun stood still, his eyes locked on the alien woman. She had spoken only a few words, yet those words carried a weight heavier than any he had known. The strange light in her eyes made him feel like he was not only being watched, but also remembered. Arun tried to calm his breathing. He was just one man, far from Earth, far from help. The alien woman did not move to harm him, but her presence alone was powerful. His instincts told him that leaving would be the safest choice, yet something inside urged him to stay. He wanted to know why she had called him here. Gathering his courage, Arun spoke again. His voice was low but steady. "You said humans must remember." "Remember what?" The alien woman tilted her head slightly, her silver hair flowing as though touched by a silent wind. She raised her hand and pointed to the walls of the chamber. At her gesture, the smooth surface began to shift. Faint shapes appeared, glowing like stars forming patterns. Arun stared as images grew around him. They were not clear pictures but moving impressions, like dreams painted on light. He saw vast fleets drifting across space, ships of designs he had never seen. He saw worlds burned and rebuilt. He saw figures that looked like her kind, tall and graceful, standing against shadows that swallowed entire skies. Then he saw something unexpected. He saw humans. Not modern humans with sleek ships and bright colonies, but humans from centuries past, still struggling with their first steps into space. They stood side by side, facing giants far beyond them. They did not turn away. They fought, not with advanced machines, but with courage and will. Arun's heart pounded. He whispered to himself without meaning to. "That is us. That is humanity." The alien woman's voice entered his mind again. "Yes. Long ago, when your kind was still fragile, you faced the storm. You were not ready, yet you did not fall. My people watched. We did not understand at first. We believed you would vanish as quickly as you had appeared. But you endured. Arun turned to look at her. Why are you showing me this now? Her gaze deepened, and for a moment Arun felt as if his own memories were being pulled forward. She said, because the storm returns. What once tried to erase us rises again. And when it does, the stars themselves will look away. My people are scattered. Others are silent. Only humans carry the fire that resists forgetting. You must remember what you are. A chill ran through Arun. The way she spoke, it was not just a story. It was a warning. Something ancient and dangerous was coming back. Something that had destroyed civilizations before. He asked carefully, this storm, what is it? The chamber dimmed, and the glowing images changed. Arun saw a wave of machines, countless and cold. They were not alive, not like any species he had seen. They spread like locusts, consuming everything in their path. Stars dimmed behind their endless numbers. Worlds turned to ash. The alien woman's voice grew heavier. They are the swarm. Created long ago by hands now gone. They have no memory, no mercy, no reason. Only purpose. They erase all, so nothing remains to tell the story of what was. Arun's throat felt dry. The sight of the swarm made him uneasy, yet something about her words struck deeper. She had not just said they destroy. She had said they erase memory. He muttered, erase all, so there is nothing left to remember. She nodded slowly. That is their true victory. Not in breaking bodies, but in breaking memory. Without memory, there is no story. Without story, there is no meaning. That is why I called you here. Arun lowered his scanner and clenched his fist. He had never been a warrior. He had never been someone who carried great responsibility. But now he stood in front of an alien who looked at him as if he represented all of humanity. It frightened him, yet it also stirred something inside. Still, questions pressed on him. Why me? Why not someone stronger? A leader, a commander, someone with power. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It was not a smile of humor, but one of quiet understanding. Because leaders often forget. Power blinds. But you came here because of curiosity, not duty. You chose to listen when others would ignore. That is what makes you worthy to carry memory. Arun's chest tightened. He had always thought of himself as ordinary. Now, this alien told him his simple choice to follow a faint signal had meaning. He struggled to accept it. The silence stretched again until the station itself shook with a low rumble. Arun grabbed the wall for balance. The chamber's star-like ceiling flickered. The alien woman did not move, but her eyes narrowed. They have found us, she said quietly. Arun's heart skipped a beat. The swarm. She nodded. Fragments. Scouts. They test the silence. They will come soon. The weight of her warning pressed on him harder. He wanted to run back to Horizon and leave. He wanted to escape. But he also knew he had already stepped into something greater. If he left now, he would never forgive himself. The alien woman stepped closer. Her presence filled the chamber, calm but strong. She placed her hand lightly over her chest and spoke again. You must be ready, human. You must see and you must remember. What comes cannot be stopped by one ship or one world. It can only be resisted by spirit, by will, by refusing to vanish. That is why your kind matters. That is why I called you. Arun met her gaze again. Her eyes glowed like deep wells of time. He felt fear, but also a spark of something new. He was not a hero. He was not chosen by destiny. Yet here he stood, with a message placed before him, and a warning that might shape the future of all humans. For the first time, he straightened his back and met her gaze without flinching. "Then tell me what I must do." The chamber pulsed once more with faint light, and the alien woman nodded. "You will see soon. But first, you must face the test." Outside, beyond the silent station, the dark void stirred. The first shadows of the swarm drifted near, their shapes sharp and merciless. The warning was no longer only words. It was becoming real. And Arun understood that his journey had only just begun. The chamber grew darker as the faint glow of the walls began to fade. Arun felt the change in the air, as if the station itself was holding its breath. The alien woman stood calm in the center, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Outside, the swarm crept closer, though Arun could not yet see them with his own eyes. Arun tried to steady his thoughts. He was only one man with one small ship. Against a threat that could consume stars, he felt powerless. But the alien woman had said humanity mattered, that humans carried something worth remembering. He wanted to understand what she meant. He raised his voice, soft but clear. "You said I must see. Show me. Show me what humans did before." The alien woman moved her hand slowly through the air. At once, the chamber lit again, but this time the light came from her eyes. Arun felt a sudden pull, as if invisible threads wrapped around his mind. The chamber around him vanished, and he stood in another place. He was not on the station anymore. He stood on the surface of a barren world under a red sky. Around him stretched ruins, burned cities, and broken machines. And in the middle of the ruins stood humans. Not many, only a small group, but they stood firm with weapons simple compared to the enemies before them. Arun realized he was not only watching. He was inside the memory. The alien woman's voice echoed in his mind. "See what came before. See what your kind did when all believed it was the end." The ground shook as shapes appeared at the horizon. The swarm. Endless machines, moving like a tide of steel. Their bodies shone black against the red sky. They advanced with no sound of anger, no shout of war, only the cold rhythm of machines. The humans in the vision tightened their lines. They were poorly armed, yet their faces showed no surrender. Arun saw fear in their eyes, but behind the fear burned a stronger flame. They raised their weapons, not because they thought they could win, but because they refused to bow. Arun's heart pounded as if he stood among them. The machines closed in, and the battle began. The humans fired, moved, and fought with everything they had. Their weapons broke, their numbers fell, but they kept standing. Each time one fell, another stepped forward. They shouted not words of despair, but words of defiance. The alien woman's voice continued. "Your kind was not the strongest. Not the oldest. Not the most wise. Yet you fought when others turned away. You stood when others fell. You made the swarm bleed when no one believed it could be done. And in your defiance, you taught even my people to hope again." Arun's chest tightened as he watched the battle. He could almost smell the smoke, hear the cries, feel the heat of destruction. He saw a young human in the vision, holding a weapon until the last breath. The machines struck him down, but his final act slowed them long enough for others to escape. Arun wanted to reach out and help, though he knew it was only memory. Suddenly the vision shifted. He now saw great ships in orbit, massive alien vessels fighting the swarm. They were elegant, powerful, but even they began to fall. Yet among them moved small human craft, weak and fragile compared to the enemy. The swarm ignored them at first, believing them useless. But the humans turned weakness into strength. They used speed, risk, and desperate creativity. They struck at the swarm's weak points where no one else dared. And each time, they made the impossible happen. Arun whispered, "They never stopped." The alien woman's voice softened. "Yes. That is your kind. Even in the face of nothingness, you refuse to vanish. That is why memory must remain. For without memory, the fire dies." The vision shifted again, pulling Arun deeper. Now he saw not battle, but aftermath. Survivors stood on ruined ground. They carried scars, but they also carried hope. They rebuilt from ash, even when the swarm was not fully gone. Arun felt the strength of their spirit more than the pain of their losses. Then the vision faded. The chamber returned. Arun stood again before the alien woman, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He felt as if he had lived through years in only moments. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Now you understand. The swarm can break worlds. But they cannot break spirit, unless spirit surrenders. That is why I showed you. So you will remember what it means to be human." Arun wiped the sweat from his brow. His voice trembled, but it carried determination. "I saw it. I felt it. But how can one man carry such memory? How can I fight something that even your people could not stop?" The alien woman stepped closer. Her presence was calm but strong, like the stillness before a storm. "You are not asked to win alone. You are asked to carry the story. To return to your people and remind them of what they are. When fear comes, you must be the one who says, 'We have faced this before, and we did not fall.' Memory is your weapon, and will is your shield." Arun lowered his gaze, thinking. His whole life he had chased unknown paths, never sure why. Now it felt as if every step had led him here. Perhaps he had been reckless, but that recklessness had brought him to a place where he could witness this truth. Before he could answer, the station shook again, harder than before. The walls vibrated as faint echoes of movement stirred beyond. The alien woman turned her head slightly, her silver hair catching the dim light. "They are close now," she said. "The test begins." Arun's fear returned, but this time it mixed with resolve. He was not ready, but he would not run. He had seen too much to turn back. He straightened and met her gaze again. "Then I will face it. Whatever comes, I will remember, and I will not stand aside." The alien woman studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. A faint light flickered along the walls, as if the station itself approved. And in that moment, Arun understood. He was not just a pilot anymore. He was a witness of memory, a carrier of humanity's fire. Beyond the station, the swarm drifted closer, their black forms slicing through the void. The next chapter of memory was about to be written. The station trembled again, stronger than before. Arun felt the vibration under his boots and reached for the wall to steady himself. The alien woman remained calm, but her glowing eyes flickered like a storm was passing through them. "They are here," she said. Her voice echoed softly in his mind. "The swarm has sent its scouts. This is your test, human." Arun's throat went dry. He had seen the visions, he had felt the weight of memory, but facing the swarm himself was another matter. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to speak. "What do I do? I have only a small ship. I cannot fight them." The alien woman lifted her hand, and the walls of the chamber shifted. A large circular opening formed, revealing the darkness of space outside. Arun saw them at once. Shapes drifted through the void, sharp and angular, their surfaces black as stone. They moved with silent precision, like predators that needed no sound. There were only a few at first, perhaps 6 or 7. But Arun knew they were only the beginning. They search, the alien woman explained. They test. They always begin small, to see if the silence breaks. If we remain still, they will leave. But if they find us, the larger swarm will follow. Arun swallowed hard. Then we should hide. Let them pass. She shook her head. Hiding is no longer enough. You must show them that humanity is not silent. You must prove what I have told you, that humans do not surrender. That is your test. Arun turned his gaze back to space. His small ship, Horizon, floated docked outside the station. Compared to the black machines, it looked weak and fragile. His mind raced. He had no great weapons, no powerful shields. All he had was speed, a few basic cannons, and his will. His voice was tight when he asked, "And if I fail?" The alien woman's expression did not change, but her words were heavy. "If you fail, they will mark this place. The swarm will return in numbers beyond counting. My people cannot fight them again. And humanity will not have the warning it needs." Arun closed his eyes for a brief moment. Fear pressed against him like a heavy weight. But beneath the fear, he felt something else: resolve. He remembered the visions of humans standing against impossible odds. If they had not surrendered, neither could he. He opened his eyes and nodded. "Then I will face them." The alien woman stepped closer. She reached out and touched her hand lightly against his chest. "Do not think like a soldier. Think like a human. Use what you are. Risk, adapt, and defy. That is the only way." Arun felt a strange warmth spread from her touch. He did not know if it was real or only in his mind, but it gave him strength. He turned quickly and left the chamber, hurrying back through the curved corridors until he reached the airlock. Within moments, he was inside Horizon again. The familiar hum of his ship filled his ears, calming him slightly. He strapped into the pilot's seat and powered the engines. The swarm scouts were still outside, scanning the station with thin beams of cold light. "They have not yet seen you," the alien woman's voice spoke inside his mind, though she was still on the station. "But they will. Show them what a human can do." Arun gripped the controls. His ship detached from the station and drifted into open space. The black machines turned at once, as if sensing life. Their sharp forms shifted into attack patterns, moving with deadly precision. Arun fired his small cannons. Bright bursts of energy shot into the dark, striking one of the machines. The swarm scout broke apart, its pieces scattering. Arun's chest filled with a brief hope he could hurt them. But the others moved closer, faster than he expected. He pushed Horizon's engines to full power. The ship leapt forward, twisting between the machines. They fired beams of cold light, cutting across the void. One strike grazed his ship, shaking the cabin. Alarms screamed, but the hull held. Arun forced himself to breathe steadily. He remembered the vision of human pilots using speed and risk. He angled Horizon sharply, cutting power for a split second, then reigniting the engines. The sudden shift spun his ship, throwing off the machine's aim. He fired again, striking another scout. The alien woman's voice echoed faintly in his mind. Good. Do not fight them with strength. Fight them with spirit. Arun smiled despite the fear. He darted through the void, weaving between beams of light. He aimed not for the strongest machines, but for their weak spots. Each time, he took risks no other pilot would dare. He schemed dangerously close to the edge of the dying star's fire, using the brightness to blind the machine's sensors. One scout flew too close and burned in the star's heat. The others pressed harder. They moved together, surrounding him in a deadly pattern. Arun's hands shook as he searched for a way out. He thought quickly, remembering the survivors in the visions. They had not won by fighting head-on. They had won by refusing to play by the enemy's rules. He cut the engines completely, letting Horizon drift. The machines closed in, their beams charging. At the last moment, Arun reignited the engines and spun backward, firing all cannons at once. The closest machine exploded, and the blast shook the others away. Arun shouted into the empty cabin, "Not today." Only 2 scouts remained. Arun angled his ship toward the station, drawing them with him. As they closed in, he dove sharply downward toward the surface of the dying star. Heat alarms blared, warning of critical danger. But Arun did not turn. He kept diving until the machines followed. At the last second, he pulled upward with all power. Horizon screamed as it strained, but the ship rose above the star's burning edge. The 2 scouts tried to follow, but their paths were slower. One burned instantly in the star's fire, and the other faltered long enough for Arun to strike it with a final cannon shot. The void fell silent again. Arun's chest heaved with heavy breaths. His ship was damaged, his hands were shaking, but he had survived. He had faced the swarm scouts and won. The alien woman's voice returned, calm and steady. "You have done it. You have shown them. They will remember this resistance. And so will you." Arun leaned back in his seat, closing his eyes for a moment. He felt both exhausted and alive. For the first time, he truly understood the words she had spoken. Humanity did not survive because of power. Humanity survived because of spirit, because of the refusal to give in. He opened his eyes and looked toward the station. He knew the swarm would return, stronger than before. But for now, he had passed the test. And deep inside, he felt ready for what would come next. The battle was over, but silence did not bring peace. Arun sat inside Horizon, his chest still rising and falling with heavy breaths. The cabin smelled faintly of smoke from the overheated circuits. Warning lights glowed red across his panel. His ship was alive, but barely. He turned his eyes toward the station. Its curved silver body reflected the dying star's faint light. For a moment, Arun wondered if he should leave, fly back to the safer routes of human colonies. But deep inside, he knew he could not. Something larger than him had begun. He had faced the swarm and survived. That was not the end, it was the beginning. Docking was rough, but Horizon clung once more to the alien station. Arun stepped back into the quiet corridors, his legs weak but steady. He followed the familiar path to the central chamber. There she was, waiting. The alien woman stood calm, her eyes glowing softly, watching him with the same deep gaze that had unsettled him since the start. "You faced them," she said, her voice inside his mind, calm yet strong. "And you lived." Arun tried to laugh, but his voice came out tired. "Barely. They almost tore my ship apart." She stepped closer, her silver hair moving gently as if touched by invisible air. "But you did not surrender. That is what matters." Machines expect logic, order, and fear. You gave them none of those. You gave them risk. You gave them defiance. That is the human way. Arun felt pride stir within him. It was strange, hearing an alien describe humanity with such respect. He had always thought humans were small compared to the vastness of space. Yet she spoke as though his people carried something powerful, something no other race had. Still, he shook his head. I only fought a few of them. The swarm is endless. What I did was nothing compared to what is coming. The alien woman studied him for a moment, her eyes steady. Do not measure victory only by size. A spark may look small, yet it can burn a forest. You gave the swarm a memory. You showed them that humanity is not silent. They will not forget this. Arun looked at the floor, then raised his eyes again. You really believe humans are that important? Yes, she said simply. When others break, humans resist. When others fall silent, humans shout. That spirit is rare in the universe. My people once had it, but time and sorrow took it from us. Now, we watch it burn in you. The chamber grew quiet. Arun felt the weight of her words. He remembered the visions she had shown him, the humans who stood against impossible odds. He was only one man, but perhaps he carried their legacy now. He stepped closer to her. What happens next? If the swarm is coming, we cannot just sit and wait. Her gaze softened. Next, we prepare. You cannot fight the swarm alone, but you can carry the warning. Your people must know. They must remember before the storm arrives. Arun nodded. Then I will take your message back to Earth. I will tell them what I saw here. The alien woman paused, then shook her head. Not yet. The swarm will return soon in greater numbers. If you leave now, they will follow you. Humanity is not ready. You must stand here longer. You must learn more before you carry the story home. Arun's stomach tightened. He wanted to return, to warn his people, but she was right. If he led the swarm back, it would doom them. He clenched his fists and said, Then teach me. Show me what I must know. For the first time, a faint warmth touched her expression. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. She raised her hand, and the walls of the chamber glowed again. Images filled the space, not visions of the past this time, but lessons. He saw diagrams of swarm movements, the way they spread like a tide across systems. He saw patterns in their attacks, weaknesses hidden in their endless numbers. He learned how other species had tried to stop them and failed, always because they tried to match the machines with strength and logic. The alien woman's voice guided him. Remember this. The swarm cannot be beaten with power. They are power. They cannot be beaten with order. They are order. They can only be beaten with defiance, with risk, with the unexpected. That is where humans are strong. Arun listened, memorizing every word, every image. His mind burned with new understanding. As hours passed, his body grew tired, but he did not stop. Finally, the lights dimmed and the chamber returned to silence. The alien woman stepped closer again. You are learning, she said. But this is only the beginning. When the swarm comes again, you must fight not to win, but to show them what you are. That is how memory survives. Arun drew a deep breath. His hands trembled slightly, but his heart felt steady. I'll fight them again. Even if horizon breaks apart, I won't run. She tilted her head, studying him. That is the human spirit. You may not win today, but you make the swarm remember you. That memory is stronger than their numbers. Arun turned his gaze to the distant window where the dying star burned faintly. He thought of Earth, of the colonies, of his people who lived unaware of the danger creeping closer. They needed time, and if his defiance could give it, then he would fight until his last breath. The alien woman's voice grew softer. When the moment comes, I will stand with you. You will not be alone. Arun met her gaze, and for the first time, he did not feel like a lost pilot drifting in space. He felt like part of something larger, something worth carrying into the future. The silence stretched between them, not empty but full of meaning. Arun turned back toward the corridor, ready to repair Horizon for what was coming. The battle was not over. It had only begun. And in his heart, he carried one truth. Humanity's strength was not in its ships or its weapons. Humanity's strength was in its refusal to bow. The swarm would come again, in greater numbers, with greater fury. But when they did, Arun would meet them. And he would remind them what it meant to be human. The quiet moments on the station were brief. Arun worked tirelessly to repair Horizon, patching hull plates and recalibrating the engines. Each beep of the control panels reminded him of the swarm's scouts and the danger that lurked beyond the void. The alien woman watched silently, her glowing eyes steady, as if she had seen countless battles and knew how this one would unfold. Arun wiped the sweat from his brow and sighed. I have done what you asked, but I feel small. How can humans stand against them? Even with defiance, we are fragile. The alien woman stepped closer. Her voice was calm but firm. Fragility does not define strength. Humans are fragile, yet they endure. They face the impossible and still stand. That is the difference. Strength alone fails against the swarm. Will and courage endure where power collapses. Arun looked up at her. Then my courage is my weapon. She nodded slowly. Yes. Your courage, your refusal to surrender, your willingness to risk everything. That is what will remind the swarm that humans cannot be erased. And that is what my people learned from your kind. Arun swallowed hard. He felt the weight of her words pressing on him. He was only one man, yet the memory of humanity, the spark of resistance, had been placed in his hands. It was both terrifying and empowering. Suddenly, the station trembled, stronger than before. Alarms sounded across Horizon. Arun ran to the observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, he saw the void alive with movement. The swarm had returned, greater in number and far more organized. Sharp black shapes swarmed like a tide, moving with unyielding precision. They are here, the alien woman said. Now you must act. Arun's heart pounded, but he refused to show fear. He ran through the controls, preparing Horizon for flight. The ship's engines hummed as he pushed them to full power. He looked at the alien woman. I will not let them reach the station. She studied him for a long moment. You are ready. Remember what I have shown you. Use what is human, not what is machine. The swarm cannot understand courage, only fear. That is where you hold power. Arun took a deep breath and undocked Horizon. The ship leapt into open space, weaving between the swarm's scouts. He fired cannons and launched evasive maneuvers, striking at weak points he had learned from the aliens' lessons. The swarm moved with deadly precision, but Arun refused to act like they expected. He took risks, spun his ship sharply, and struck when least expected. The alien woman's voice echoed in his mind. Do not hesitate. Humanity's memory lives in action, in defiance, in the refusal to fall. Hours passed in a blur of movement and light. Horizon darted between the swarm, dodging beams and returning fire. Arun's hands were sore, his eyes burned, but he pressed on. The alien woman observed from the station, her gaze unwavering, as though she knew he could carry the fight beyond what even she could do. Finally, the swarm began to falter. The patterns Arun had learned, combined with his quick thinking and unpredictable maneuvers, disrupted their coordination. He struck key targets, sending some machines tumbling into the star's heat. Others collided in confusion. For the first time, he felt the tide shift. The alien woman approached the observation deck. "You are doing what even my people could not. You are showing the swarm that humanity will not vanish." Arun shook his head in disbelief. "I am just a pilot. I am nothing compared to them." She looked at him directly, her eyes glowing brighter. "No. You are everything because you act when others would flee. That is why you are human. That is why humanity matters. You fight not for victory, but for memory. That is your strength." The swarm began to retreat slightly, regrouping in the void beyond the star. Arun took the moment to catch his breath, though he remained at the controls. "They will return, stronger," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "But they remember you now. They know resistance is not optional. That is why humanity endures. That is why I recognize your kind." Arun felt a strange warmth in his chest. Recognition. Respect. Even an alien being who had watched civilizations rise and fall acknowledged humanity's fire. For the first time, he understood the truth of her words. Humans were fragile, yet their will could not be destroyed. He looked at her and asked, "Do you think humans can survive what is coming?" She stepped closer, her hand brushing lightly against his shoulder. "They must. And they will, because they remember. Every act of courage, every moment of defiance, builds a memory that cannot be erased. That is why your people are strong in ways others do not understand." Arun nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer only a pilot or an explorer. He was a witness, a carrier of human spirit, tasked with proving that courage mattered more than numbers, more than logic, more than fear. Outside the station, the void slowly grew calm again. The swarm lingered at the edge, observing, learning, but they had not broken him. Arun knew the battle was far from over, yet he also knew that humanity's defiance had meaning. The alien woman's voice softened, almost gently. "You have learned much in these hours. But there is more ahead. When the full swarm returns, you must lead, not with weapons alone, but with courage, with spirit, with memory." Arun looked toward horizon, then back at the alien woman. I will carry this memory. I will remind humans what they are capable of. And I will remind the swarm what it means to face a human who does not surrender." She nodded, her expression calm yet filled with pride. "Then we prepare. The storm will come, but humanity's fire burns still. Remember, Arun, this is only the beginning. You carry the legacy of countless humans who stood when nothing else could. Do not forget it." Arun stood silently for a moment, letting her words sink in. He felt exhausted, yet alive. He had faced fear, chaos, and death, and yet he had endured. He had begun to understand what it meant to be human, and why humans mattered across the universe. Outside, the star's light cast long shadows across the station. The swarm waited in the distance, but Arun no longer feared them in the same way. He knew their strength was in numbers, but humanity's strength was in memory, in courage, in refusal. And that strength was alive in him. The alien woman stepped back and let him gaze out into the void. The swarm will return, but now they know. And you know. That is all that matters. Arun nodded, gripping the edge of the observation deck. I understand. I will not forget. Humanity will not forget. For the first time since arriving at the station, Arun felt a spark of hope. The battle had shown him the danger, yet it had also shown him the truth. Humanity was not fragile in the way he had once feared. Humanity was strong, because they would not surrender. And in the endless black of space, human defiance burned brighter than the stars themselves. The void beyond the station was alive with movement. Arun stood at the observation deck, watching the swarm advance in greater numbers than he had ever seen. Countless black shapes stretched across the darkness, moving like a tide determined to consume everything in its path. The alarms on horizon screamed warnings, but Arun did not flinch. The alien woman stood beside him. Her silver hair shimmered faintly in the star's glow. They have returned, she said softly. Now you must lead. Not with power, but with courage. Not with numbers, but with defiance. Arun swallowed hard. His hands gripped the edge of the deck. He could feel the weight of every human memory, every human story he had been shown. He carried the legacy of those who had stood before him. He was no longer just a pilot. He was a witness, a messenger, and a fighter. He moved to horizon and strapped himself into the pilot's seat. The ship trembled under the strain of its engines, but Arun pushed it forward. The swarm reacted immediately, moving with deadly precision. Their black forms seemed endless, stretching from one edge of the star's orbit to the other. Arun's mind raced. He remembered the lessons from the alien woman: fight not with strength, but with unpredictability. Strike where they least expect it. Take risks no other would dare. His fingers danced across the controls, adjusting speed, trajectory, and weapon targeting simultaneously. The first wave of machines approached. Arun spun horizon sharply, firing his cannons at their weak points. Beams of black energy crossed the void, striking his ship, but he twisted and darted, avoiding direct hits. One machine exploded in a blaze of sparks, another collided with its own kind as he maneuvered between them. The alien woman's voice echoed inside his mind. You are human. Let them see it. Let them remember what it means to face a species that does not surrender. Arun's chest burned with adrenaline, yet he felt clarity. He was no longer afraid. Each decision, each movement, each strike carried meaning. This was not just survival. This was defiance. The swarm shifted tactics, their numbers pressing closer. They sought to surround him, to overwhelm him with sheer force. Arun's heart pounded, but he did not panic. He remembered the humans in the visions, standing tall against impossible odds. They had fought with nothing but will, and they had survived. He dove toward the dying star, skimming its surface dangerously close to the burning heat. The machines followed, but their coordination faltered in the extreme conditions. One after another, scouts burned in the star's fire. Arun twisted horizon sharply, striking the remaining machines with precise shots. The swarm hesitated. They were learning. Arun's unpredictability disrupted their formation. He realized that he was teaching them what humans were capable of: courage and refusal. The alien woman's voice was soft but firm. Remember, Arun. You carry the memory of humanity. Every action you take now becomes part of it. Show them the strength of your kind. Arun pushed the ship forward again, weaving through the machines, each movement calculated yet daring. Horizon shuddered under the strain, but he refused to yield. He could feel the station's energy assisting him, subtle waves of power that guided his ship without controlling it. It was as if the station itself remembered humanity's spirit and lent its strength to him. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The swarm pressed harder, but Arun's skill and courage held them at bay. He remembered the final lessons the alien woman had shown him: humans do not need to win every battle to leave a mark. They only need to survive long enough to remind others that resistance exists. He executed a daring maneuver, diving between two massive machines and striking their weak core. The explosions lit the void like distant fireworks. The remaining swarm scouts hesitated. Arun realized they were cautious now. They remembered the defiance they faced. The alien woman stepped to his side on the observation deck, her gaze calm and approving. They remember. And now you must go further. You must carry the memory home. Arun understood. He would not destroy the swarm entirely. That was impossible. But he had shown them that humans could fight, that humans would not surrender, and that humans would leave a legacy of defiance that could not be erased. He turned Horizon toward open space, heading for the nearest human outpost. The swarm did not follow, at least not yet. They had learned to respect the unpredictability of human courage. Arun's chest rose and fell with relief, but he remained vigilant. The alien woman watched him leave. Her voice echoed one final thought in his mind. Carry the story, human. Tell them what you have seen, what you have done. When the stars themselves forget, your kind must remind them of the strength of humanity. Arun nodded silently, gripping the controls of Horizon. He knew the journey ahead would be long. Humanity needed to hear the warning, to remember the courage that could save them. He was their messenger, and he would not fail. As Horizon sped through the black void, Arun looked back at the dying star. The station glimmered faintly, a silent guardian that had taught him everything he needed to know. The alien woman's presence lingered in his memory, a reminder that humans were not alone in the universe, even if they often felt it. He thought of Earth, of the colonies, of every human who had ever faced impossible odds and refused to fall. That defiance lived in him now, and he would carry it further than any ship could travel. Hours turned into days, and Arun maintained his course, pushing Horizon to its limits. He checked the systems constantly, repaired minor damages, and never allowed fatigue to weaken his focus. Every glance at the stars reminded him that the swarm could return, but he was ready. At last, he reached the edge of human space. Signals from the colonies reached him, faint but welcoming. He began broadcasting messages, telling what he had seen, warning of the swarm, and sharing the lessons of courage and defiance the alien woman had taught him. People listened. Leaders acted. Scientists prepared defenses. Colonists trained. Humanity's memory, carried by one pilot, began to spread across countless worlds. Arun finally allowed himself to breathe. He had done what the alien woman asked. He had faced fear, defied impossible odds, and carried the memory of humanity. The swarm had not been defeated, but humanity had survived, and their spirit burned brighter than ever. He looked at the stars again, silently remembering the alien woman's words. Remember, human. When the stars themselves forget, your kind must remind them. And Arun knew that he would. Humanity's fire would never die. It would continue to burn in courage, in defiance, and in memory. And when darkness came again, humans would stand. The void was vast and dangerous, but for the first time, Arun felt hope. Humanity's legacy was alive, carried not in weapons or fleets, but in the hearts of those who refused to surrender. He pressed forward, horizon blazing through the endless black, carrying the story of human defiance across the stars.